For years, you've probably been sold a very simple, very appealing message about options trading, right? Things like collect premium, let time decay work for you, and my personal favorite, be the casino. I mean, it sounds absolutely incredible, but today we're going to look under the hood. Welcome to this explainer on the credit spread myth, the carnival versus the casino, where we are going to completely dismantle some of these deep-seated biases together. Let's get right into it. Think of our agenda today as a survival guide for the market. We're going to systematically walk through the options myth factory, hunt down some mythical creatures, disarm the high volatility trap, prove why you are not, in fact, the casino, compare catchy marketing slogans to real math, and finally, help you find your optimal edge. Section 1. The Options Myth Factory, Marketing versus Math. We're starting our expedition right here. So why do so many traders bleed capital despite strictly following all the quote-unquote rules of free options education? Well, the crucial point is that marketing slogans sound incredibly powerful because they appeal directly to our psychology. Phrases like instant income, they make us feel safe, right? They make us feel successful before the trade is even played out. But we really need to step back and ask if these slogans actually provide a structural edge, or if they're just clever words masking the true math of the trade. Let's look at a real-world example of how this tricks our brains. The store discount is a perfect illustration of this illusion. Imagine walking into your favorite shop. The store raises the price of an item from $400 to $500 just so they can heavily advertise, hey, get $100 off today. You feel like you want something, right? It feels like a deal, but the item still cost you $400. That is exactly what is happening when you prepay part of your own risk in a credit spread. You didn't magically create income out of thin air. The broker still secures the full risk as margin. The timing of that cash flow does absolutely nothing to improve your expectancy. Now, check this out. When we directly compare a 5-point credit spread to a debit spread, a really fascinating reality emerges. A bull put credit spread takes in $100 credit, sure, but it has a maximum risk of $400. Now look at a bull call debit spread. It costs $400 up front, but has a maximum profit of $100. Economically speaking, these trades are literal twins. The probabilities can be identical, and the risk-reward profile is exactly the same. This perfectly proves that the cash flow direction at your entry point creates absolutely zero mathematical advantage. Section 2. Mythical Creatures of Trading. Chasing Ghosts. Let's see how these deep-rooted assumptions actually morph into the trading world's biggest legends. We really have to stop and ask ourselves, are the strategies we've relied on for years based on hard, undeniable mathematical evidence? Or are we literally just chasing ghosts and chat room legends? Let's hunt down a few of these monsters right now. Take the unicorn of free upfront money. It's a beautiful idea, isn't it? But receiving cash upfront is just part of the trade structure, not a free lunch. Then there's the Loch Ness monster of time decay. People love to say, hey, time is on your side, but they completely ignore the reality that all options have time decay. Furthermore, deep in-the-money debit spreads actually use non-decaying intrinsic value to win. We are separating the marketing fantasy from the cold, hard math here. It's absolutely vital to remember that while credit spreads rely heavily on the slow, agonizing erosion of time value, that slow grind toward expiration, deep in-the-money debit spreads can benefit from price movement without needing to sit around and wait for theta to work. Intrinsic value does not decay. So you have to ask yourself, what force is actually dominating your position? Section 3. The High Volatility Trap. Slaying the Dragon. It's time to tackle a really dangerous and highly misunderstood rule, the idea that you should absolutely always sell when implied volatility is high. Now, high volatility looks exciting, just like a dragon, but it's a massive trap if you don't understand the mechanics behind it. I want you to think of this like hurricane insurance. You're being paid higher premiums because the storm risk and actual uncertainty have drastically increased, not because the insurance companies suddenly woke up and became generous with free money. Higher premium is just compensation for higher risk, plain and simple. Let's break down the actual numbers here for a 5-wide vertical spread in two entirely different environments. In low IV, you might receive a $1 credit. Okay, cool. In high IV, you receive $1.75. Wow, that's 75% more premium. But look a little closer at the hidden costs. Your net risk cushion actually drops by 19%. On top of that, your expected market moves have expanded, your gap risk has skyrocketed, and violent price swings are far more likely. So yeah, You're getting paid more, but simply because you are standing in front of a much faster moving train. Section 4. You are not the casino, the carnival pitch. Next up, we are going to tackle the biggest myth of them all. Before we puff out our chests and claim to be the house just because we collected a credit today, we must honestly answer one critical question. Do our trades possess a verifiable mathematical advantage? Because, spoiler alert, simply selling risk isn't enough. Let's be real about how casinos actually operate. True casinos run on massive sample sizes, known probabilities, fixed payouts, and incredibly strict risk controls. Their true edge comes from probability expectancy and completely disciplined execution. Simply collecting a premium on your trading platform does absolutely nothing to magically grant you those advantages. You are not the casino just because you sold an option. Section 5. Marketing slogans versus real math. Trade structure. Let's dive into an analytical teardown of those catchy slogans versus cold, hard trade mechanics. This disconnect right here, it can be extremely dangerous. A marketer tells you a setup is a high probability trade, and you instinctively assume, oh, it's safe. But mathematically, a high probability trade can still have a negative expectancy. If your rare losses are mathematically larger than your frequent small wins, you will slowly bleed money over time. You cannot trade a slogan, guys. You have to trade the structure. You need to stop asking if you received money today and start asking the structural math questions. Marketing always asks, did I sell premium? How much cash should I get? But math asks, am I comparing equivalent trades? What is my true expectancy? And what is my return on capital over hundreds of occurrences? When you shift the questions you're asking, your entire perspective on the market completely changes. Section 6. Finding your optimal edge. Repeatable process. How do we build all of this into an ultimate goal? By replacing the hype with a true structural edge. We define an optimal edge as a two-dimensional, mathematically sound approach that completely abandons guessing, throws out the crystal balls, and ignores the marketing fluff in favor of a strictly repeatable process. It is entirely about stacking the odds and trading the structure. I really want to burn this mantra into your mind. Simple rules, high probability, repeatable process. Over hundreds of trades, the exciting stories and the flashy marketing language all fade away. The market doesn't care about exciting stories or catchy slogans. It just doesn't. But this mathematical process, finding small edges and repeating them consistently, will steadily compound over time. That is where the real magic happens. So as we wrap up this explainer today, I want to leave you with a final, provocative thought to examine your own portfolio. When you strip away the slogans, the upfront credits, and those fun casino analogies, does your trading structure actually have a mathematical edge? I challenge you to look really closely at your strategy today. Stop trading the carnival pitch and start letting the math do the talking. Thank you so much for learning with me today, and as always, keep questioning the consensus.